let's leave Iran for now. Let's get to the other teams, which actually are a lot more simple than the ones we've just talked about. It really is the Arabs and the Persians are kind of the two teams with the most friction between each other. But there are other entities at play here in the Middle East, some of which we've already referenced. Namely, Team 3, the Turks. Oh my gosh. I love the Turks, not the least of which is because they have one of the more congenial roles in this battle for influence across the Middle East. What do I mean by that? Well, Turkey in its own right. I actually don't even consider it part of the Middle East, but they have to do with a lot of these affairs that I'm talking about, so I want to bring them up now. The Turks are just doing fabulously. The country is had almost double-digit growth, economic growth. They're doing really well. They're interesting in that they're secular. They're a democracy. They're almost 100% Sunni Islam. So from the get-go, some of the differences are already starting to be teased out. Ethnically, they're not Arab or Persian. They're Turk. They're Sunni Islam. But what's quite unique about them, and has been for their entire modern existence since 1923, is that they're completely secular and a democracy. And how did this come to pass? Again, to do a rapid-fire Turkish history. They are the remnants of what was the mighty Ottoman Empire, who had its heyday starting up in the 1300s and really was large and in charge of most of the classic Middle East right on up to kind of the modern era. In the 1700s, 1800s, they were still holding steady, even though they were getting weaker and weaker, and were pulling around for allies, and that's how they fell into cahoots, that they did a partnership with Germany prior to World War I, which the Germans thought was great and probably hilarious, because Germany then attacked everyone in Europe and pulled the Ottoman Empire, unfortunately, into that fight, which they all then lost. And the Germans and the Ottomans lost World War I. The Ottoman Empire was carved up by the victorious European powers, and that's how you got full European takeover via the mandate system, something I've now referenced multiple times. Now, Turkey maintained its kind of independence, even though the rest of the Middle East got taken over by the Brits, mostly the Brits and the French. Turkey maintained its independence as kind of the last territorial stronghold of the whole empire. And the French, by the way, tried to take over Turkey as well in a mandate, but this group called the Young Turks and others fought back and like, nope, we'll keep going. World War I, we'll keep going because we're not letting you take us over. So Turkey did become an independent state. And I just want to kind of throw out these highlights for you to think about of why Turkey is so different than these other entities these other players in the Middle East we've been talking about. Turkey is interesting in that it's more Western than other Middle Eastern countries. That is, it's very pro-West. It's in a lot of Western league teams, or a lot of Western team leagues and organizations. And has kind of always been a part of Europe, even though it's kind of distinct from Europe. So it's more Western than those other Middle Eastern countries, but not as Western as the Europeans want them to be, which is one of the reasons they've been held out of the European Union all this time. They're probably thanking their lucky stars for that right about now. Turkey has always been a capitalist system, integrated into the world economic system. They have exceptionally fast GDP growth, as I've been talking about. Just the last 10 years, they've been hustling. They are the strongest, fully Muslim democratic state. I mean, they are a strong, staunch, secular democracy. Religion's over here, and the government's over here. By the way, that's the opposite of Iran, which you have now heard ad nauseum. Religion and the state are the same. I point that out because Turkey being kind of a moderating influence in this whole region, it's interesting to me that them and Iran actually get along. And their political systems are completely opposite. And Iran always attacks the Arab states for being corrupt and not being a good theocratic state, but they never say anything about Turkey. I think that's, again, because Turkey's a player and they're taken seriously, and that kind of talk would just further alienate Iran from everybody in the hood. Anyway, Turkey is a UN member, has been from the inception, a NATO member since close to the inception of NATO, a WTO member, possibly an EU member, so again, very kind of Western. Turkey's always been a huge U.S. ally, Team West ally, and formerly, until just very lately, an Israeli ally. That's something that people forget in today's current events, because Israel and Turkey are having a huge spat publicly that the leaders of these two countries despise each other and use the pulpit to talk about that quite a bit. But that is a more modern phenomenon. Really, Turkey's had fairly strong relations with Israel. I'm assuming Turkey has already recognized Israel. In fact, I'm sure they have. So Turkey's never had a lot of contentious issues with Israel like most of the other surrounding Middle Eastern states have. And again, that pulls them further entrenched into U.S. ally and Team West corner. And they're fast becoming a leader in the region in terms of being a moderator, a solid voice that everybody likes to listen to. And you know my opinion of Recep Erdogan already. Prime Minister Recep Erdogan is perhaps one of the most popular leaders across all of the Middle East right now. King Abdullah is really popular in Saudi Arabia. The Saudis love him. And he gets okay ratings across the rest of the Muslim world. Recep Erdogan is popular in every single Muslim country. I shouldn't even say that. That even is pigeonholing it. He's popular in non-Muslim countries. But he is looked to increasingly, maybe because of the Arab Spring, maybe because of current events and everything that's happening right now, but he is increasingly looked to as a real leader, and Turkey as a model of what could be for many Middle Eastern states who are throwing out their dictators and kings right now. So Recep Erdogan, and also because Erdogan has been taking a much harder stance toward Israel, that's also gained him popularity on the Arab street, but also on the Persian street. I mean, people just see this guy and Turkey and say, that country's doing good. We want to do good like that. Now, I like him. Again, I'm not trying to be anti-Israeli because I know the Israelis hate his guts right now. But I personally like him because he's a staunch nationalist. He sticks up for Turkish national interest first and foremost. He's using his power and popularity and influence, and I think a fairly positive way. Positive for everybody but Israel, I'm not going to lie. He has really kind of stepped up to suggest, kind of covertly, but he just puts it out there that, hey, look at Turkey. Hey, we're a Muslim country. We're doing good, and we're a democracy. Check us out. You guys might want to do that too. I think a lot of folks in Egypt and perhaps other places took a lot of, gained a lot of energy by, Recep's words and him saying, yeah, you guys can do it. Why can't Egypt be a democracy? Turkey is. We got about the same number of people. We're both Islamic states. So I think a lot of people like the dude personally, like his message, and he's using that message to encourage folks to, I think, become more democratic. But how can the West think that's bad? But also to stand up for the national interest of their country, and that may be more problematic for, say, the United States or the West. But he's using his celebrity also to be moderator. And that's what I want you to think about when you think of Turkey. Even before the recent debacle of the Israeli-Palestinian situation, and before the Arab Spring, even before all that started to hit the fan, Recep had been for years saying, I'm friends with the leaders in this region, but you guys really probably need to change. You really need to liberalize your systems a little bit. You really need to give people a voice. And he was also, him personally, but Turkey in general, was a moderating force and starting to become kind of a host for Israeli-Palestinian talks, trying to get everybody to the peace table. They also were the host. I distinctly remember reporting on this in class because I really thought it was going to go somewhere, that Erdogan put together a meeting between Syria and Israel. It was going to be like a secret meeting to try to get them to have peace talks and maybe Syria to recognize Israel so Israel could get back the Golan Heights and they could come to some sort of agreement. That was mostly the Turks that did that. The Turks are also a moderating influence in that they have relations with Iran. They're virtually the only country in the hood that does. And they say, dudes, come on, everybody hates Iran, we dig that, but come on, let's lower the rhetoric. Come on, Iran, you should lower the rhetoric too. So Erdogan is friends with the Iranian leadership, with Arab leadership, with Israeli leadership, at least he was. And he's really in a unique position to be able to say, a couple different things which are really important, which is one, I'm Islamic. Okay? I'm not the United States. I'm not somebody from outside the region who's trying to impose something upon you guys which isn't native to you. I am you. So I'm Islamic. Turkey's Islamic. Why don't you follow our model? Look what we can do. Two, I'm friends with everybody here. So you can't... everybody has a sense that they can talk to Erdogan in Turkey because everybody has relations with him. And you can't say that about anybody else. I mean, this is what this whole lecture is about, is the Arabs hate the Persians and the Persians hate the Arabs and everybody hates Israel and Israel hates everybody. And it's like, well, no, Turkey is really the only entity. It's like, no. We can chill with anybody, and we are uniquely in this position that we can probably facilitate dialogue, facilitate peace processes, facilitate lots of different things. And he's been trying. Again, this has gotten much murkier since relations with Israel have fallen through, but that's the way I want you to look at Turkey. Turkey, I think, for a long time was willing to walk away from the Middle East. This is just a little side personal note, I guess. But for a very long time, Turkey, I think, was like, the Middle East is screwed. I mean, so much conflict, so much violence, so much everything. We would like to be Europe. And Turkey, for 50 years, has tried to get into the European Union and is in all the other Western clubs already. And so I think had the EU embraced Turkey a lot longer ago, and been like, oh, of course, no, we want you to be European. Come on over. We'll let you in, and you can be European and be in our bloc and everything else. Had that happened, I don't know that the Turks would be playing that big of a role in the Middle East right now. But because they basically got rejected by the Europeans, and they still are, I think Turkey said fine. And they just stood up and turned around and said, fine, we won't be a major part of the EU. We'll be a major power player in the Middle East. Booyah! That's why I like Turkey. I think they're a fascinating country, a lot going on, and a lot of positive things going on, as opposed to virtually everything else you hear about coming out of the Middle East. All right, so Team Turk, U.S. ally, Arab friend, Iranian friend too. I wouldn't call them tight friends, but they do trade and do lots of things. Respected by virtually all parties in the region, and fast becoming a leader, moderator, facilitator, and perhaps model for other Arab Spring countries who are forming up new political systems. That's Team Turk.